Okay, so today we're diving into a topic that really gets to the very heart of education itself. We're going to talk about cheating. But, not in that old school way of passing notes in class. Nope. We're talking about how technology, and especially AI, is making us question the very rules of what it means to learn. So, when a college student, her name's Ella, was asked how many people in her class had cheated just once, she didn't give a number, she didn't guess. Her answer was this stark, two-word reality check. Probably everyone. And that one response just blows the doors open on a huge conversation about what's really going on inside our schools. So, what does cheating even mean anymore? To figure that out, let's start with how the students see it, because honestly, that's where this whole conversation really begins. Now, this definition you see here, it didn't come from a professor or some dusty textbook. This came straight from the students. For them, it really boils down to dishonesty and to claiming you earned a knowledge that you actually didn't. So it's not just about breaking a rule, it's about, a fundamental lie. But here's where it gets kind of blurry. Students see a whole spectrum here. On one end, the less serious stuff. You've got things like, say, telling your professor you were sick just to get an extension on a paper. But on the other, much more serious end, you have stuff like buying a whole essay online or paying someone to take your exam for you. And that creates this massive moral gray area where these little justifications can snowball into much bigger problems. And this brings us right back to Ella's point. When you push them on it, the students in her class figured that at least 90% of their peers had done something on that less serious end of the cheating spectrum while in college. So we're not talking about a few bad apples here. We're talking about something that's, baked into the system. But even these less serious actions can create some really unfair advantages, and they have this ripple effect that touches everyone. Let's walk through a specific example just to see how it all plays out. Okay, so picture this. You're in a giant lecture class, and you get points for attendance through a quick quiz at the very beginning of class. So here's the move. Step 1, a student shows up. Step 2, they whip out their phone, take that quick attendance quiz. Step 3, boom, they get the points. And then step 4, they pack up their bag and just leave, skipping the entire lecture. They've basically hacked the system for a bit of crap. And you might be thinking, so what? Who cares? They're only hurting themselves. I mean, after all, they're the ones missing out on the actual lesson, right? But what seems like a small individual act, it actually has consequences for everyone else sitting in that room. See, when enough students start using these little workarounds, it creates this rising tide of grade inflation. Every student who games the system makes it just a tiny bit easier to get an A, and that starts to shift the entire curve. And all of a sudden, the bar is higher for the students who actually stayed and did the work, making it that much harder for them to get that same top grade. These tiny cheats create a big collective disadvantage. And just as we're trying to wrap our heads around that whole problem, a much, much bigger force comes crashing into the picture. This quote from economist Tyler Cowen just completely flips the script. He's basically suggesting that if a new tool makes cheating super easy, maybe the problem isn't the cheating at all. Maybe the problem is what we're teaching in the first place. And this brings us to the AI disruption. This isn't just a fancy new way to cheat. Oh no, this is a force that is changing the rules of the entire game. The pace of change we're seeing here is just staggering. Tyler Cowen points out that AI models are getting better by about 30% every single year. At that rate, their power, their effectiveness, it literally doubles in under 2.5 years. This is not a slow-moving trend, people. This is an exponential tidal wave. I mean, AI is already outperforming humans in some really high-skilled jobs. It's drafting legal documents better than junior lawyers are, it's writing code way more efficiently than human programmers, and it's even spotting diseases on medical scans more accurately than doctors. The very jobs that students are in school for are being completely reinvented as we speak. So the crucial point here, according to Cowen, is that the entire value of an education is shifting right under our feet. Things like memorizing facts, writing a standard essay, doing routine analysis, these are all skills that AI is getting really, really good at. The path to success isn't about collecting knowledge anymore, it's about learning how to use these incredibly powerful new tools. So if the old model is broken, what's next? Well, this leads to a pretty radical new vision for the classroom. An education that's actually designed for the future. Here is Cowen's proposal in a nutshell.
A third of your time should be spent actually mastering your subject, whether that's history or chemistry, but an equal third should be all about writing and critical thinking, those core human skills of just communicating and reasoning. And that final third, that should be totally focused on learning how to use and work with AI. It's not an elective anymore, it's a core skill.
In a model like this, everything changes. The teacher isn't just the person who has all the information anymore. They become more of a coach, a mentor, someone who guides students on how to learn. And for students, the most valuable skills become things like adaptability, learning how to ask an AI the right questions to get great results, and building a human network, because that's one thing an AI can't do for you. Which leaves us with this final and pretty provocative question. In the real world, when a manager gives a task to a super skilled assistant, we call that being efficient. So, if a student uses an AI to help generate a brilliant essay, is that academic dishonesty? Or is it just a smart delegation of work to a powerful new tool? The answer to that question might just define the entire future of learning.